Let's start with Starbucks. Kevin Johnson is leaving very quickly here, I would add.
Yeah.
Shares, by the way, are up nicely this morning, but again, announcing Kevin Johnson intends to retire after 5 years as CEO. He's been at the company 13 years. April 4th. It's only a few weeks away. And founder Howard Schultz has been appointed interim CEO after KJ leaves on April 4th. He's going to stay around, by the way, Kevin Johnson, as a partner, employee, and special consultant. Starbucks says it will select a new leader by the fall. Last hour on Squawk Box, Starbucks Independent Board of Directors Chair Melody Hobson complimented Johnson, but also welcomed Schultz back into the fold.
He's done a great job for us at Starbucks and really wants to move on to do something else now. And then we have this MVP, one of the greatest players in the game, on the bench. So the board called him up. We called and said, Howard, would you help us out during this period? And he agreed to do so. We thought at this moment, he's the perfect person, certainly the perfect culture carrier. And so he'll help us transition, help us on board a new leader. And we get all of that for $1. He's going to do it for free.
They seem to be patting themselves on the back, Jim. I don't quite get it. In a quote in the press release, KJ says, a year ago, I signaled to the board as the global pandemic neared an end, I would be considering retirement. A year ago.
Right.
They let Roz Brewer leave, by the way, 14 months ago.
Almost the same time.
Who potentially was an heir apparent. She's running Walgreens now. They had a
strong.
year, and what have they been doing?
Well, when I spoke to Kevin today, I found it quizzical. Why? Because I think he was doing a terrific job. Obviously, the headwinds of China are beyond most. There's some unionization in Buffalo, but there's unionization in a lot of the franchise Starbucks. 7 years, long-time CEO, 13 years on the board. Yes, but not so long that you couldn't have had an easy succession beginning last year.
So what do you think happened here?
Again, I find it extraordinarily quizzical and can draw no conclusions other than the fact that the idea that Howard Schultz coming back is extraordinary.
I mean, maybe there was a lack of urgency on the part of the board because they knew they had Schultz in their pocket if they needed him. But again, if you are a board and your CEO says, you know what, I'm thinking about retiring a year from now, I don't understand why you don't have a lot of candidates potentially lined up. And you let somebody walk out the door only a month or two prior to that, perhaps, if it's exactly a year, because Brewer left in January of 21.
I know.
Or announced it. I don't quite get it. So,
is there a
Melody Hobson can sit there and say this is great.
Right.
And maybe it is.
Well, I found it.
This is an important company that you'd expect to have a succession plan in place when your CEO tells you a year in advance that they're planning on leaving.
I think Kevin Johnson's great, doing a terrific job. There's a lot of headwinds, obviously. I think he was spectacular. I regard it as material that he told the board that he was going to leave.
You think it should have been?
Yes.
No, I don't know. A lot of times you can signal. He said signaled. You know, what's the signaling, right?
Signaled?
Yeah.
Signaled?
That's what he says. Said I signaled.
He signaled.
I mean, maybe he didn't signal enough.
I think
although they chose to put this in the press release.
Maybe it's like the Patriots where you had to steal the signals. The Astros, they still say. I mean, look, David, Kevin Johnson, again, a man I thought was doing a person I thought was doing a terrific job, is someone whom I'm going to miss tremendously because it's too soon. But you know what? People.
Yeah. And by the way, his plan, as I understand it, and you spoke to him, is not to just disappear into retirement, but to have an active role, perhaps not as a public company CEO again, but, you know, in different things, is my understanding. He's not like going off to spend more time with his family.
Right. No, we had a family moment recently that was specious, I felt. Howard, in many ways, is Starbucks, and then stepped aside, presidential run, and not successful. Don't need me to tell you that. The stock's up because Howard's great. But can I just say Kevin was great, and the referendum here of the stock, I think, is unfair. I welcome Howard back, obviously. And Howard always had new ideas.
But again, they're not saying that Mr. Schultz is going to become the permanent CEO. I assume some people perhaps surmise that, well, we'll see what happens come the fall. But again, you know, one of the key things the board is supposed to do is have succession plan in place potentially. And when you're given a signal a year prior, my only point would be you'd expect that you wouldn't have to go to an interim situation like this. All right, let's move on.
Well, can I just say one thing again?
Yeah.
I want to congratulate Kevin for doing a great job and welcome Howard back. But to call this expected, frankly, is insane.